It was found in an old garage, 11 inches long with a smooth, well-crafted handle that might be boxwood. The flat blade is about a 16th inch thick and exactly 1.5 inches wide. No bevel like a typical chisel, but also not flexible like a modern putty knife. The maker's stamp reads J. Howarth, a known Sheffield toolmaker, which suggests quality and age. What do you think this tool was made for? This is called a Sash pocket chisel, a specialized woodworking tool used primarily in window sash repair and restoration. Its narrow, sturdy blade is designed to fit into the pocket of a sash window frame, specifically the cavity where the weights and pulleys are housed in older double-hung window systems. When repairing or replacing sash cords, the chisel would be used to cut and remove small access panels without damaging the surrounding woodwork. The blade is often reinforced and may be beveled only on one side for cleaner, more controlled cuts when working up against inside edges. Craftsmen working on historic homes still use tools like this when preserving original joinery and architecture. A friend has this old tool. No clue where it came from, but he's always figured it might be an ice cream scoop. It's 11 inches long, weighs about 8.5 ounces, and feels like cast aluminum. No markings anywhere, and it's non-magnetic. Thing is, there's no mechanism or lever like most scoops have. Just one solid piece. Could this really be an ice cream scoop? Or was it made for something else entirely? This is one half of a salad serving set, specifically the fork side of a pair of salad spoons. Typically, salad servers come as a matching set with one spoon and one fork-like piece. When used together, they allow you to grip and serve salad without crushing the greens. The fork helps catch and lift ingredients like tomatoes or cucumbers, while the spoon provides support underneath. It was found in a workshop made of forged iron parts welded together and labeled W01, about 11 inches tall, 6 inches wide, and 3.5 inches deep when upright. There's a bolt hinge and a loop on one handle that hooks over the other when closed. The base has a V-shaped notch with a straight bar across the bottom. What could this have been used for? These are W-brand horseshoe tongs, a blacksmithing tool specifically designed for holding and manipulating horseshoes while they're being heated, shaped, or fitted to a horse's hoof. The distinctive jaws are shaped to grip the curved edge of a horseshoe securely, giving the farrier control while working at the forge or on the anvil. These tongs allow for safe handling of hot metal and provide the leverage needed to adjust the shoe shape or apply additional work like punching nail holes. The W mark refers to the manufacturer. Many blacksmithing tools were branded with simple letters or symbols, and these kinds of tools were widely used in both small-town and professional farrier shops in the 19th and early 20th centuries. It was found at a cottage, silver metal, about 11 inches long and 4 inches wide. There are two identical pieces, no markings, no obvious use, just solid and kind of mysterious. Any idea what these could have been used for? This is a pot strainer, or clip-on colander, often referred to as a pampered chef pot strainer. It's designed to clip onto the edge of a pot or saucepan, allowing you to drain water from pasta, vegetables, or other boiled foods without needing to transfer them into a separate colander. The curved shape fits the pot's rim, and the slotted surface lets liquid pour out while holding the contents back. Pampered Chef and other kitchenware brands popularized these space-saving, one-handed straining tools, especially in the early 2000s. They're especially handy for quick draining jobs and ideal when you're working with hot liquids and don't want to handle a full heavy colander. It was found on an old dumping site behind a house built in the 1830s in rural central Massachusetts. Forked, rusted metal, maybe cast iron, about 11 inches long, with holes that look like they were meant to join other pieces. The area has turned up jars and scraps dating from the early 1900s to the 1940s, so this likely fits somewhere in that range. Possibly a farm tool part, a hitch, maybe a bracket from something long gone. What kind of equipment could this have belonged to? This is an accessory shock absorber for the front axle of a Ford Model T. one of the many aftermarket parts designed to improve the ride and handling of early automobiles. The original Ford Model T, produced from 1908 to 1927, came with very basic suspension, just transverse leaf springs and no factory-installed shock absorbers. Roads at the time were rough, and drivers often added accessory shocks like this one to reduce bounce, sway, and improve stability on uneven terrain. These shock absorbers typically mounted to the front axle and frame, using friction or spring tension to dampen the movement of the suspension. They were often sold by third-party companies and came in a variety of designs, some with visible springs, some using friction discs, and some relying on rubber bushings. It was found alongside another old item, this small plastic box with 8 dials. 7 are plastic and show numbers like 13, 8, 3, and shapes marked in white. The 8th is metal, no color markings, just the word zigzag engraved on it. Any idea what this box of mystery dials was used for? These are cams from an old sewing machine used to control the stitch pattern before computerized or digital systems came into play. Each cam is essentially a small disc with a uniquely shaped groove or profile. When inserted into the sewing machine, usually on a cam stack or cam follower mechanism, the cam shape would guide the machine's internal components to move the needle and feed dogs in specific ways, creating decorative or functional stitches like zigzags, scallops, or blind hems. In older machines from brands like Singer, Kenmore, or Pfaff, users would swap these cams to change stitches manually. It's a clever example of mechanical programming, letting a machine perform complex movements without electronics. It was found at the edge of an apartment complex in Texas, tied with some rope like someone had rigged a handle on it, a heavy 12-pound hunk of cast iron with a round rubber bumper at the base, a cone-shaped body, and a flange with a rusted threaded bar sticking out the top. Looks like it came off some kind of old machinery, possibly farm equipment considering the area. Could be a counterweight, part of a shock system, or maybe even something from a tractor or combine. Any idea what this could have come off of? This is a plug for a water line, commonly known as an expandable test plug or pipe plug. The larger end with the rubber gasket is inserted into a pipe, typically for temporary sealing, pressure testing, or maintenance. Once in place, turning the central screw or wing nut causes the inner mechanism to expand the rubber, pressing it firmly against the interior walls of the pipe to create a watertight seal. These are often used by plumbers and contractors when they need to isolate sections of piping, test for leaks, or block off water flow during repairs or system installation. They come in various sizes to fit different pipe diameters and can be reused if maintained properly. It was found on the desk during an office move. Metal tool with a wooden handle and a roller that measures about 4 by 7 inches. It has 12 tooth wheels, each one independent, and the teeth aren't sharp, more like rounded spines. No markings or labels anywhere. Feels too rough to be a massager, but maybe it was meant for pressing or indenting something soft. Any ideas what this odd roller might have been used for? This is a carpet seam roller, a tool used in flooring installation to help press and blend carpet seams together for a smooth, nearly invisible finish. The roller typically has a spiked or smooth metal wheel attached to a handle. During installation, after applying seam tape and heat to bond 2 pieces of carpet, the installer rolls this tool along the seam to mesh the carpet fibers from both sides together, ensure even pressure across the seam, improve adhesion between the backing and the seam tape. There are different types of seam rollers depending on the carpet type. Spiked wheels are used for loop pile carpets, while smooth rollers are used on cut pile to avoid damaging the fibers. It was found with other older tools and has a wooden handle attached to a 13-inch metal rod. At the end of the rod is a perfectly shaped elongated circle, about 2 inches in diameter, angled at roughly 45 degrees. The full length is 18 inches and the wood handle is about 4 inches long. The seller couldn't date it exactly, but it looks vintage, possibly pre-1990s. What could this tool have been used for? This is an iron salamander, a traditional kitchen tool used to caramelize the sugar topping on creme brulee and other desserts. Before modern kitchen torches were common, chefs would heat the flat, circular iron plate directly in a flame, usually from a stovetop or open fire, until it was red hot. Then, they would carefully lower the salamander over the surface of the dessert, just above the sugar, to melt and caramelize it evenly without heating the custard beneath. Iron salamanders were also used to brown gratins or toast cheese toppings, and they were a staple in 18th and 19th century kitchens, especially in Europe. Some versions even had long handles to keep the cook's hands safely away from the intense heat. It was part of a Random Tools auction lot, and definitely looks homemade. The circular part measures about 13 inches across, and it has a small counter attached. There's a spring beneath the wheel, probably there to keep friction or tension as it moves. Someone guessed it might be fishing related, but even experienced anglers weren't convinced. The size, tension mechanism, and counter all seem too bulky or awkward for fishing line. Any idea what it might have been used for? This is a device used for measuring the denier of textiles, which is a unit that describes the thickness or fineness of a fiber based on its weight. Denier is defined as the weight in grams of 9,000 meters of a single strand of fiber. To use the tool, you spin the wheel to wind the fiber onto it, count the number of rotations to determine the length collected, and then weigh the fiber. Once you have those numbers, you calculate the denier by dividing the weight of the fiber in grams by the number of meters collected, then multiplying the result by 9,000. This type of tool was commonly used in textile manufacturing and quality control, especially when working with materials like nylon, polyester, or silk. A lower denier means the fiber is finer and lighter, while a higher denier indicates a thicker, stronger strand. It is a practical tool for ensuring uniformity and precision in textile production. It was found in a thrift store, about 13 inches at its widest. There's an adjustable horizontal slotted piece connected to a bar and a small screen around 4 by 3 inches. The screen has a winding mechanism, like something could be viewed through it. Any idea what this could have been used for? This is a vintage home movie titler, a clever little device used before the digital age to add titles and text to home movies shot on 8mm, 16mm film. The way it worked was simple but effective. You'd place a title card or letterboard into the holder, aim a movie camera at it, and film the title screen before or between your home movie clips. Some titlers had a built-in light source to evenly illuminate the title, and more advanced models had sliding frames or adjustable arms to help position the text just right. Before computers or video editing software existed, this was the go-to way to label vacation films, birthday reels, or family events, giving context and charm to personal movie collections. Some enthusiasts even created custom fonts or added animation effects manually. It was found while digging in a garden in New England, just this single metal piece, roughly 5 inches by 5 inches. Nothing else like it nearby, just some fragments that might have been sidewalk. Any idea what this might have been used for? This is a rescue figure 8, a specialized type of descending device used in climbing, caving, and rescue operations. It's shaped like the number 8 and made of strong metal, usually aluminum or steel. Unlike a standard figure 8 used for rappelling, the rescue version is larger and designed to handle 2 lines at once. This allows a rescuer to lower either 2 people together, such as during a tandem rappel, or 1 person along with heavy equipment safely. The larger size helps dissipate heat and provides better friction control for smoother, more controlled descents. It was found next to some old abandoned railroad tracks, dragged out of the woods by a kid who now uses it as a doorstop. No clue what it originally did, but it's clearly heavy, rugged, and probably part of some old rail equipment. No markings, just rust and weight. Any idea what this chunk of metal might have originally been used for? This is part of a railroad track switch, also known as a turnout. These mechanical systems are designed to guide trains from one track to another, allowing for routing at junctions, sidings, or stations. Track switches have been essential in rail networks since the 1800s, and even today, while modern systems often use remote or electric motors, many rural or older rail lines still rely on manual components just like this one. It was some type of old electric motor, very heavy with small cylinders or pistons attached around the body. The main part is about 14 inches in diameter with a standard US 120V cord. Interestingly, both sides look the same, and there's no clear label or branding. The question is, does the motor drive the pistons, or did the pistons once power the motor? Everything about it looks aged, possibly mid-20th century or earlier. Could this have come from an industrial machine? Any idea what this motor-like machine was originally used for? This is a low-pressure air compressor, typically used in a dentist's office to power various dental tools. Operating at around 20 to 30 pounds per square inch, it delivers clean, dry, and consistent air to devices like air syringes, polishers, or low-speed drills. Dental air compressors are specially designed to be quiet, oil-free, and moisture-controlled, ensuring that no contaminants reach the patient or the equipment. They're often compact and housed in cabinets to reduce noise in the treatment room. It was picked up from a thrift store, heavy metal with a wooden handle. The middle rod slides back and forth, and there's a hinged metal component that moves freely. Looks like it was designed to hold or clamp something. The only marking on it says PATD, June 14, 1881. Any idea what this 1881 era tool was actually made to do? This is a combined stereoscope and graphoscope, an optical device popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, though this one appears to be missing some of its parts. The stereoscope portion allowed viewers to look at stereoscopic cards, pairs of images taken from slightly different angles that, when viewed together, created a 3D effect. The graphoscope side was used for magnifying photographs, postcards, or printed material, making fine details easier to see. These combination devices were often beautifully made from wood and brass and intended for use in parlors or libraries. They were not just functional, but also decorative, often considered a conversation piece in Victorian homes. This set includes 3 old steel medical instruments, each with a distinct design and likely purpose. The first tool, approximately 5.5 inches long, appears to be a hollow cannula or needle, possibly used for draining fluids or irrigation. The second is a pair of forceps with sharp, pointed tips about 9 inches in length, likely intended for grasping or handling tissue. The third item is a metal syringe, about 8 inches long without a needle. On the top of the syringe are markings that read A with a downward arrow and J with an upward arrow, though their specific meaning is unclear. All items are unmarked otherwise, made of solid steel, and seem to come from a time when medical tools were built for repeated use. Any idea what these tools were originally made for? These are embalming tools, part of the specialized equipment used in the process of preparing a body for burial or viewing. Embalming involves preserving human remains by delaying decomposition, typically through the use of formaldehyde-based fluids that are injected into the circulatory system. The tools in an embalming kit often include arterial tubes for injecting embalming fluid into arteries, scalpels and scissors for incisions and precision work, trocar for aspirating fluids from internal organs, needles and thread for suturing incisions, forceps and hemostats for handling vessels and tissue, cavity injector to treat internal cavities after aspiration. These tools have been refined over the years, but many of the classic instruments have remained similar in form since the late 1800s, especially after embalming became widespread during the Civil War era in the United States. It was found on a beach in the UK, made of brass with a wooden spoke about 5.5 inches long. The brass section has 3 fin-like projections and is connected to the wood with a flathead screw. While the wooden piece seems worn, it looks like the whole thing could have rotated at some point. Some have guessed it might be part of a sextant, like an index arm, but no exact match has been found so far. What kind of tool would this have been part of? This is a tennis net mount from the 1800s, a piece of early sports equipment used to secure and tension the net during matches in the formative years of lawn tennis. Back then, tennis nets were often made of hemp or cotton cord and required sturdy mounts to anchor them to the ground and keep them taut across the court. These mounts were typically made of cast iron or brass and often featured a crank or winding mechanism to adjust the net's tension manually. The design was both functional and decorative, often reflecting the Victorian aesthetic of the era. This kind of hardware would have been seen on private estate courts or exclusive tennis clubs, when tennis was still a relatively new and fashionable pastime for the upper class in Britain and Europe. It was found in south-central Missouri near the site of 19th century ironworks. Solid iron, roughly 14 inches tall, and weighs about 30 pounds. It appears designed to attach to a 2-inch shaft, held in place with a square head bolt. There are no markings or numbers, but the shape suggests it might have functioned as a rotating counterweight or flywheel attachment. The heavy mass and balanced design imply it was part of larger industrial machinery, possibly something related to stamping, forging, or rotary movement. Any idea what this is made for? This is an impact crusher hammerhead, a heavy-duty component used in mining, construction, and aggregate industries. It is designed to crush materials like limestone, granite, or concrete by striking them with high force. Installed inside an impact crusher, the hammerhead is attached to a rapidly spinning rotor. When material enters the crusher, the hammerhead delivers a high-speed impact, breaking the material into smaller, manageable pieces. The force of the collision, along with repeated impacts against internal breaker plates, achieves the desired particle size. These hammerheads are typically made of manganese steel, high chrome alloy, or other wear-resistant materials to endure extreme stress and abrasion. Over time, they do wear down and need to be replaced as part of routine maintenance. It was found on a neighbor's junk heap. Solid wood, dark stained, and about 14 inches long with a single drawer. The handles on each side and 3 triangular ridges across the top suggest it was designed for a specific task, but what's missing is anyone's guess. The drawer has a little floral carving, and there are no marks, stamps, or signs of a manufacturer. Too small and oddly shaped for a jewelry box, too decorative to be just a tool chest, and the ridges on top seem too deliberate to be random design. Could those grooves have once held something like small display boards or plaques upright? Any idea what this could have been used for? This is a wine bottle holder with storage, likely designed to hold 4 bottles horizontally on the flat surface, using the triangular supports to keep them from rolling. The small drawer beneath is intended for keeping wine-related accessories, like a corkscrew, foil cutter, pour spout, or wine stoppers. The horizontal orientation helps keep the corks moist, which is important for preserving wine stored long-term. This kind of piece is both decorative and functional, often found in kitchens, dining rooms, or home bars. Depending on the materials and craftsmanship, it might have been handmade or commercially produced in the mid to late 20th century. It was picked up at a second-hand market. Heavy steel frame standing about 15 inches high, set on 4 adjustable feet. The structure features a large pendulum on a fixed axis with an adjustable weight, and above that a smaller free-swinging pendulum aligned with a degree dial. The entire upper assembly can tilt backward into a horizontal position and be locked at any angle using a wing nut at the base. Whatever label or branding was once on it is now unreadable. What could this have been used for? This is a variable G pendulum, a laboratory teaching tool used to explore the physics of pendulum motion under varying conditions of effective gravity. It was likely built during the post-World War II era, a time when science education equipment was known for its precision, durability, and craftsmanship. At its core, the device demonstrates the classic pendulum equation. T equals the square root of L divided by G, where T is the period of oscillation, L is the length of the pendulum, usually measured to the center of the mass, and G is the acceleration due to gravity. These kinds of variable gravity demonstrations are especially useful for teaching how physical systems behave in non-vertical gravitational fields, such as on inclines or in theoretical reduced gravity environments. It was found in an old village house in the middle of Romania. Iron construction, very heavy, around 10 to 15 inches wide, and fitted with a crank on the side. No markings or writing anywhere on the body. The current owners bought the house decades ago and never learned what the tool was for. With fewer people around to ask, it remains a mystery. Any idea what kind of work this was originally used for? This is called a rolling mill, and more specifically, it appears to be a pipe crimping machine, commonly used for shaping stovepipe or other types of sheet metal tubing. In this setup, the sheet metal is fed between a set of geared rollers which apply pressure and form the metal into a desired shape, often creating a crimp or seam that allows one end of a pipe to fit snugly into another. These machines come in many variations depending on the type of crimp, the material being used, and whether the work is manual or powered. This device came included with a government auction pallet for an incubator. It's a heavy metal electrical unit, about 17 by 15 inches and roughly 20 pounds. Power enters through a 16-3 cord, hits a distribution block, and then a transformer. From there, the system connects to a stainless steel pipe with a smaller pipe floating inside it. An aquarium pump feeds air into the bottom of the pipe through rigid tubing with a homemade air filter made from PVC and foam. The air exits at the opposite end. There's a blower, fan powered by a motor, and a vented lid with a handle. A manual timer is attached to the top or side of the box. The device seems homemade or heavily modified. Based on the components, transformer, airflow, double pipe system, and timed operation, it may have been built for generating controlled airflow or gas diffusion, possibly related to lab or environmental applications. The lack of markings suggests it wasn't commercially manufactured. What could this have been used for? This is an ozone generator with a built-in timer, designed to produce ozone for eliminating odors, killing bacteria, and controlling mold and mildew in enclosed spaces. It works by drawing in air and exposing it to a high-voltage electrical discharge, which splits oxygen molecules and allows them to recombine as ozone. The PVC pre-filter traps dust, lint, and hair before the air reaches the ozone-producing plates, preventing debris from burning and protecting the internal components. These generators are commonly used in cars, hotel rooms, basements, and restoration projects after fire or flood damage. The built-in timer is an essential safety feature, ensuring the unit runs only for a preset amount of time, allowing ozone levels to return to safe concentrations before people re-enter the area. It was found in an old garage about 15 inches long and surprisingly heavy. Made of solid wood and steel, it clearly served a purpose, but exactly what kind remains unclear. The metal end looks worn from use, and the weight suggests it needed some force behind it. Could have been part of a larger tool, maybe used in carpentry, blacksmithing, or something more specific to a trade. What could this have been used for? This is an antique turpentine tree hack, a specialized hand tool once used in the naval stores industry to harvest resin from pine trees, primarily in the southeastern United States. Workers use this tool to cut V-shaped grooves into the bark of pine trees in a process known as hacking. These cuts encourage the tree to release oleoresin, a sticky aromatic substance that would drip down into a container at the base of the tree. Over time, the resin was collected and then distilled to produce turpentine and rosin, both valuable products used in paints, varnishes, and other industrial materials. Turpentine hacks like this were usually made with a sharp, curved blade and a long handle, allowing the worker to control the depth and angle of the cut. The work was labor-intensive and required precision. Cut too deep, and you could kill the tree. It was found in an IDF Negev cleaning kit bag in a gun warehouse. Made of steel, around 6.3 inches long, and weighing just over 5 ounces. There are 2 moving parts that clamp inward around the middle, and the back is stamped with the letters TMC. Feels like some kind of tool or clamp, possibly firearm related, but nothing standard immediately comes to mind. The construction is solid, precise. Any idea what it might be? This is an older removable scope mount designed to attach a rifle scope to the top of a firearm while still allowing for quick removal. The lever-style clamps lock the mount securely in place, but can be disengaged without tools, making it easy to swap optics or return to iron sights when needed. This style was more common in the 1980s and earlier, before modern quick-detach mounts with precision locking systems became the norm. It offered a decent balance between stability and flexibility, though it didn't always guarantee perfect zero retention when the scope was removed and remounted. These mounts were especially popular among hunters and marksmen who used different scopes for varying conditions, like switching between day and night optics or between long and short-range setups. It was given as a gift, steel tool with a wooden handle around 16 inches long and weighing roughly 3.5 pounds. The handle isn't original, so the true length might have been different. The head has a flat striking face on one end and a central cylindrical section with a raised ridge between them. That ridge has some marks that look like it may have been struck repeatedly. No identifying marks. Most people had no idea. Only one person guessed it was a farrier's tool, but a quick comparison didn't match anything typical. What could this have been used for? This is a Cooper's adze, a traditional hand tool used in barrel making, specifically for shaping the inner curve of barrel staves. Coopers, craftsmen who made barrels, casks, and tubs, used tools like this to hollow out and smooth the inside face of each wooden stave so they could fit tightly together and form a watertight container. Unlike a carpenter's adze, which is often used for flattening or trimming, a Cooper's adze typically has a shorter handle and a more curved blade, allowing for controlled scooping motions across the narrow width of a stave. The inward curve of the blade matches the arc needed for the inside of the barrel, making it ideal for refining the fit and contour of each piece before final assembly. It was picked up at a garage sale on Zealand, Denmark, about 6.5 inches tall and 4 inches wide. Built like a tank with sides nearly 1/2 inch thick and a dense fabric-lined interior. 5 riveted nails secure the top and bottom. The outside features a clasp, a belt loop style hinge on the back, and several small holes leading inside, some with visible copper residue. Marked on top with MGRA 29.3 and 48.13. The seller suggested military use, possibly a case for a measuring instrument or radio accessory. The thick fabric and copper hints suggest it may have held something sensitive or electric. The 29.3 could refer to March 1929 or something else entirely. What could this have originally been used for? This is a World War II-era German leather battery case designed for use with the optical sighting equipment for the MG-34 or MG-42 machine gun. Specifically marked MGRA, short for Maschinengewehr Richtantrieb, or machine gun aiming drive system. The case would have housed a battery pack used to power illumination or other components in optical sights, allowing gunners to aim accurately in low light or nighttime conditions. Constructed from durable leather with reinforced stitching, these cases were made to withstand battlefield wear and tear. Some versions included compartments for wiring or connectors and were part of a larger kit issued to MG crews. The MG-34 and MG-42 were two of Nazi Germany's most effective and iconic machine guns, and their optical equipment was used by machine gunners, snipers, and vehicle crews alike. Cases like this are now considered collector's items, especially when in good condition with original markings.
It was found in a tool shed around 5 feet long with a solid wooden handle like you'd see on a shovel. The cast iron head is marked patented July 16, 1907, and the whole thing weighs about 8 pounds. Feels heavy duty, possibly meant for leverage or striking, but clearly not a generic pry bar. Someone suggested it might be an antique 1907 wood and iron rail lift hammer. And considering the location's history with railroads, that doesn't sound too far off. But the patent date hints at a more specific function. Could it have been a specialized railroad tool? What exactly would this have been used for? This is a wire stretcher, a manual tool used for tightening and securing wire fencing, especially common in farm and ranch work. It helps apply strong, even tension to wire so it can be properly fastened to fence posts, ensuring the fence stays secure and straight. The mechanism usually involves gripping the wire with one end while a lever or ratchet system pulls the wire tight. Once the desired tension is reached, the wire is tied off or stapled in place. This type of tool is especially useful when working with barbed wire or high-tensile smooth wire, where tension is critical for structural integrity.
It was found in a thrift store, roughly 11 inches across, made of wood, and features a set of gears that turn. There's a claw-like metal piece sticking out, though the claw doesn't turn independently from the post. Each upright post has a hole drilled through the end, possibly for dowels or fasteners. One hole still has a broken piece lodged in it. Any guesses what this was originally used for? This is a skein winder, also known as a swift or reel, dating back to the late 1800s or very early 1900s. It's a beautifully crafted example of the kind used by hand spinners and knitters to wind yarn into neat skeins after spinning. Unlike a click reel, which would make an audible click to indicate when a full skein had been wound, usually every set number of revolutions, this one appears to be a non-clicking version, which required the user to keep count manually. That makes it a bit more rare, especially in such good shape, as most surviving models were click reels. The arms would rotate horizontally or vertically, depending on the design, holding the yarn taut as it was wound. These tools were essential in the textile world, especially before industrialization brought about machine-spun and machine-wound yarn. It was found in Portland, Oregon. A steel hook with an 11-inch overall length and a sculpted wooden handle that feels like it was made to nestle right into the hand. The handle has a flat bottom, allowing it to stand upright on its own, which is unusual for a tool like this. There are no markings or labels, and the hook isn't especially sharp. Any idea what this standing-handled hook might have been used for? This is a horse hoof pick, a simple but essential tool used in equine care to clean out a horse's hooves. After riding or turnout, dirt, mud, stones, and even manure can get packed into the grooves of the hoof, especially around the frog, the V-shaped part in the center. Using the pick, a handler carefully cleans out the debris to help prevent discomfort, lameness, or conditions like thrush. Many hoof picks have a curved metal hook and a handle, sometimes wood, sometimes rubberized for grip. Some versions include a brush on the opposite side for finishing the cleaning process.
It was found while digging in the backyard. Cast iron, about 16 inches long, with a central post that has a hole running through it. An armature is attached at the front, connected to the back, and moves freely up and down. The piece looks like it may have served as a base or mounting bracket for something mechanical or industrial. No markings or numbers anywhere to help identify it. What could this have supported? This is the base of an old balance scale, the kind commonly used in general stores, apothecaries, or laboratories before digital scales became standard. The base would have supported the central pivot and beam with arms extending out to hold the two pans or trays where items and counterweights were placed.
Made of cast iron or brass, these bases were built to be heavy and stable, ensuring accurate measurements. Often they featured decorative detailing or maker's marks and were designed to last for decades of daily use.
It was a tong-type tool made of heavy iron, about 20 inches tall and 16 inches wide. Not a typical grappling hook, no curved claws here. Instead, it had flat, spiked grabbing plates and a circular top mechanism that deployed the grabber, rugged and purposeful. What do you think this was designed to grab? This is a pair of ice block tongs, a traditional tool used for harvesting and transporting large blocks of ice, especially before the advent of modern refrigeration. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, workers would cut massive blocks of ice from frozen lakes and rivers during winter. These blocks were then transported to ice houses for storage or delivered to homes and businesses for use in ice boxes, the precursor to the modern refrigerator. The sharp metal hooks at the ends of the tongs would grip the sides of the heavy ice block, and the wide handle allowed a person, or sometimes two, to lift and maneuver it. Some versions had wooden handles for better grip in cold, wet conditions. It was found somewhere out in Kansas or Nebraska, solid, heavy, and made of what looks like cast iron. At the center is a gear with 16 clearly defined settings or stops, suggesting it was designed to rotate and lock into place. One side is marked 79M, and there are a few other faint markings that seem related to gear size or ratios, though they're hard to read now. Any idea what kind of machine this might have come from? This is part of an old seed drill, a mechanical farming device used to plant seeds evenly and at the correct depth. The specific piece you're looking at is likely one of the seed metering mechanisms, and the through shaft connects it to the rest of the drive system, allowing multiple units to work in unison. As the wheels of the seed drill turn while being pulled through the field, the shaft rotates and drives the metering units, which release seeds at regular intervals into furrows. The whole system was a major improvement over manual sowing, increasing crop yields by ensuring consistent spacing and reducing waste. The tools belonged to my grandfather. He used to be a truck driver in the 1950s until the early 1980s, but he had always dabbled in about a dozen crafts, especially after retirement. He seemed to favor woodworking and working with thin metal plating. He never owned a lathe or a mill, just hand tools and small power tools. My grandmother used to do bookbinding, but that's probably unrelated, as these hung in my grandfather's workshop or man cave. The opposite end is rectangular with a cube-like shape. All edges and corners are at 90 degrees and remain sharp. The front surface appears to be ground or finely milled. There are no impact marks or scratches from a hammer. They are somewhat heavy, roughly 10.5 to 14 ounces each. It's unlikely that they are inspection tools. They have no engravings or markings that indicate thread pitch or anything directly related to machining. My only theory is that they might be used to restore bent threads, but considering how large the teeth are and that there are no signs of hammering or any thread identification on them, it's not likely. Any idea what these might be used for? This definitely looks like a thread chaser for wood turning. The flat bottom is likely designed to rest securely on a lathe tool rest. My grandfather was passionate about woodworking. Even though a lathe isn't among the tools he left behind, I wouldn't be surprised if he once owned one. It was found abandoned on the roadside, 17 inches of solid metal weighing about 2 pounds. No markings or labels, just a weathered utilitarian tool that feels like it had a very specific job. Too hefty for casual use, but light enough to be carried around easily. Any ideas what it could have been used for? This is a New Britain model NR177 tire removal tool, a vintage automotive tool used primarily for removing tires from steel rims, especially on older vehicles or heavy-duty applications like trucks and farm equipment. The tool you're looking at is only part of a two-piece system. It's missing its companion locking piece, which would fit into the open end and secure the rim in place while providing leverage.
With both parts assembled, a mechanic could pry the tire bead over the rim lip safely and efficiently. It was found tucked away in a castle storage room, likely untouched for decades. A glass jar fixed in place with a steel rod running through it, connected to a hand crank outside. The whole thing had the feel of intentional, practical design, but no one knew what it was. Any idea what this is made for? This is a Hawksby machine, an early electrostatic generator invented in the early 1700s by Francis Hawksby, a key figure in the history of experimental electricity. It's considered one of the first devices to produce visible electrical light, decades before the discovery of the electric light bulb. The machine works by rotating a glass globe or cylinder, which is rubbed, often by hand or a cloth, to generate static electricity. Inside the evacuated globe, this static charge creates a faint blue-violet glow, an early demonstration of what we now recognize as a type of plasma discharge. It was this eerie, flickering light that fascinated scientists of the time and inspired further developments in electrostatics. It was found at a local thrift shop, about 17 inches tall, copper, clearly old, clearly built with care. The base unscrews, and it's spring-loaded, likely for a candle. The wax residue seems to confirm that. There's red glass in the back and a hinged panel that opens. This wasn't just a decorative lantern, it was functional. That spring-loaded base was meant to keep the candle pressed upward as it burned down, always at the same height behind the lens. Why the red glass? Because someone, somewhere, needed to be seen in the dark, but by whom, and for what? This is a carriage lamp, a classic piece of lighting equipment from the days of horse-drawn travel. It would have been mounted to the side or rear of a carriage, and the red glass lens or dial you see was designed to face backward, acting as an early version of a tail light. These lamps were typically fueled by kerosene or oil, with a small flame burning inside a protective glass enclosure. The front and side lenses would project white or yellow light, while the red rear lens alerted others on the road to the presence of the carriage ahead, especially useful in low light or nighttime conditions. The red aspect wasn't just decorative, it was a functional safety feature, a simple but effective way to make sure carriages could be seen from behind, long before electric lights or reflectors became standard. It was found in the yard while using a magnet roller, small, solid, and weighs exactly 30 grams. About 1.5 inches long, the only marking is either EN30 or FN30, stamped cleanly on the surface. So what was it? A leftover from a machine? A pin from old equipment? Or a piece of something far more specialized? This is a wheel weight used for balancing a car's wheel and tire assembly. When a tire is mounted onto a wheel, there can be slight imbalances due to uneven weight distribution. These imbalances cause vibrations at high speeds, leading to uneven tire wear and a rougher ride. Wheel weights like this are attached to the rim, either clipped on or adhered with adhesive, at precise locations determined by a wheel balancing machine. Their job is to counterbalance the heavy spots so the wheel spins smoothly. It was bought as part of a watchmaker's tool set and seems precise, but its exact purpose is unclear. When fully closed, the circular jaws measure about 0.67 inches wide, and when fully open, about 1.3 inches. Anyone seen one like this before? What could it be for? This is a specialized temporary vise used in watchmaking or fine horology work. Its purpose is to secure delicate components, often the bare internals of a watch, during repair or assembly. Unlike larger vices, this one is flat and wide, allowing it to distribute pressure evenly and minimize movement while you work. The low profile ensures that the watchmaker has unobstructed access to gears, springs, and screws, some of which can be smaller than a grain of rice. Heavy metal wheel about 18 inches in diameter and 4 inches wide with a wooden sheath over the spindle, likely made of iron or steel, found in a junkyard in Central California. Appears to be bolt-mounted. Any idea what this could be from? This is a fire hose roll, the kind that would have been stored in a wall-mounted fire safety cabinet inside a large commercial or public building. These setups were commonly installed in schools, factories, hotels, and other high-occupancy structures, especially from the early to mid-20th century. The hose would be rolled or coiled around a central hub, often on a swinging or fixed reel, and connected to a nearby water line. In case of a fire, someone could quickly pull the hose out, open the valve, and direct water at the flames before the fire department arrived. Unlike modern fire extinguishers, these hose stations required a manual response and some training to operate effectively. Many of them are no longer in use today, but the reels and cabinets still remain in older buildings, sometimes forgotten behind a panel or in an old utility hallway. These are unusual metal tongs, about 18 inches long with jaws that never fully close. There are no clear maker's marks, just a few worn or unclear stampings. The design suggests they were meant to grip or pry something, but not to cut or clamp tightly. They were found in a farm-related setting, but their exact purpose is unknown. Could they have been used for handling something hot or irregularly shaped? Any ideas what these might have been for? This is a pipe tong, and in this case it came from a mining operation, which makes perfect sense. In underground and surface mining, pipe tongs like this were commonly used to handle and turn heavy threaded pipes in systems such as dewatering pumps, ventilation setups, or drilling equipment. This solid brass piece stands about 18 inches tall and is stamped Doyle & Sons, Borough, London. It was found at an auction and no longer opens, only closes about half an inch. Any idea what this might have been used for? This is a hop sampler, also known as hop tongs, a specialized agricultural tool used in the hop industry. Its purpose is to extract a cube or plug of hops from a compressed bale after cuts are made with a knife. Hops are tightly packed into large bales for transport and storage, and buyers or inspectors need to assess the quality, aroma, color, and moisture content before making decisions. The sampler's sharp, narrow shape lets the user make a clean cut and pull out a compact sample from deep within the bale, giving a more accurate sense of the overall batch quality. This kind of tool was essential during the heyday of hop farming, especially in regions like the Pacific Northwest in the US or Kent in the UK, where hops were a major crop. It was found inside a hope chest in a family home dating back to the mid-1800s. It's a rolling, interlocking box with metal components and small silver parts. The top is stamped, patented February 19, 1889, and many of the individual parts are engraved with numbers up to 20. The interior is lined with velvet, suggesting it was meant to hold or protect something delicate or valuable. Any idea what this was designed to do? This is a Singer sewing machine puzzle box, a clever and compact storage case designed to hold a full set of attachments and accessories for vintage Singer treadle and hand crank sewing machines. The term puzzle box comes from the way everything fits together in a precisely arranged layout. Dozens of tiny presser feet, hemmers, rufflers, binders, and other specialty tools all nested in a small wooden box that folds shut like a puzzle. When opened, the compartments swing out or unfold in sections, making each piece accessible without taking up much space. These boxes were issued with higher-end Singer machines in the late 1800s through the early 1900s and were a point of pride, showing off not just the machine's versatility, but also the user's skill in operating it. Many of the attachments are still functional today and can be used on compatible machines. This cast alloy object was found in a neighbor's junk box, where it's apparently been sitting for decades. It measures about 2.4 inches long, with a central hole roughly 0.4 inches deep and 0.2 inches in diameter. The wider working end is about 0.75 inches across. It's made of a heavy, silvery metal, likely a zinc-based casting alloy, and weighs just under 2 ounces. Does anyone know what it is? This is a golf shoe spike wrench, a small but essential tool used to remove and replace the spikes on the bottom of golf shoes. Golf spikes, especially the older metal or modern soft plastic ones, can wear down over time or become clogged with dirt and grass. The wrench fits into the notches or holes in the spikes, allowing you to twist them out and install new ones without damaging the sole of the shoe. Many spike wrenches have a T-handle or two-prong design for extra grip, making it easier to deal with stuck or worn spikes. They're commonly kept in golf bags or lockers by players who like to maintain traction and stability on the course. This object was found at a bar. Each table has a roughly 2.5 to 3-inch deep hemispherical hole, partially covered by a metal bar, with a matching hole on the opposite corner. Every table follows the same setup. The shape, depth, and repetition across tables suggest it had a standardized use, possibly related to bar service. Some think it might have held an ashtray, but the nearly hemispherical form doesn't quite match typical ashtray mounts. Could it have supported drink dispensers, retractable ice buckets, or built-in games like mini shuffleboard or cards? Anyone seen this kind of feature before in an older bar setting? What might have fit in here? This is a Liberty ship hatch cover, a relic from the massive cargo vessels built during World War II. These hatch covers were used to seal off cargo holds, keeping goods secure and protected from the elements during ocean voyages. Liberty ships were built in huge numbers, over 2,700 of them, to support the Allied war effort. Every part of their design was about efficiency, durability, and mass production. And even something as simple as a hatch cover played a vital role in that mission. This was found at a thrift shop, small metal and wooden tool with 2 tines, possibly culinary. It came with a small matching pincer tool used for retrieving olives or glace cherries from jars, which suggests it could be part of a cocktail or barware set. The 2-tine piece might be meant for spearing garnishes like olives, onions, or cherries for martinis or other drinks. Its compact size and refined design support the idea of it being used behind a bar, maybe even as a serving fork for hors d'oeuvres. Any idea what this little fork might actually be for? This is a pickled onion fork, a small and specialized kitchen utensil designed to retrieve pickled onions or other small items from jars without having to pour out the liquid or get your fingers wet. Typically long and narrow, with 2 or 3 sharp prongs, it was perfect for reaching deep into jars and spearing just one item at a time. These were common in mid-century kitchens, especially in households that kept pickled onions, gherkins, or cocktail garnishes on hand. This is a long brass tool with a wooden handle and a swiveling piece at one end, found without markings and probably around 60 years old or more. Someone jokingly called it a harpoon for feral cats, but for those involved in rescue or fostering, that kind of humor definitely misses the mark. What could this tool have been meant for? This is a toggle head whaling harpoon, a brutal but ingenious tool once used in the era of commercial whaling. Unlike a simple spear, this harpoon had a pivoting or toggle tip designed to embed deeply into a whale's flesh and then turn sideways once inside, making it far less likely to pull out during the struggle. The toggle mechanism was a major innovation, allowing whalers to secure their catch more effectively and increasing the success rate of the dangerous and grueling hunt. These harpoons were typically thrown by hand or fired from a gun, and they played a central role in the whaling industry throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries. It was found in a clothing donation box about 18 to 24 inches long. A wooden board labeled I-hand board with a path of 20 eyelets marked L1 through L20 and R1 through R20, printed on a wrinkled transparency sheet taped to the surface. A few fishing lines were tied to hooks on the sides, likely to hang or secure it. The path is symmetrical but uneven, and there's a small 1810 in the corner. It looks handmade or customized. Any idea what it was used for? This is a therapy coordination tool used primarily in rehabilitation settings to help patients improve eye-hand coordination. It was commonly used for individuals recovering from strokes, where regaining motor control and precision is a critical part of therapy. Patients would perform repetitive movements with the device, such as inserting pegs, tracing paths, or manipulating sliders, which helped retrain neural pathways, improve fine motor skills, and rebuild muscle memory. These tools were also used in dementia care, not just for coordination, but as a way to engage patients cognitively and physically, providing a calming, purposeful activity that could help reduce agitation.